But, pushing that aside, let's talk about something else at this very moment. Something that I am both extremely excited for, yet at the same time, I'm almost certain that I will be slightly disappointed by it. And that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. You know, being wrong about something doesn't always have to be a negative. And holy buble, am I happy I was wrong about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Having not only played every version of the older Hyrule Warriors, but also spent the most time on the game of any other from the older console, I was a bit nervous about the newer installment. There were a few reasons for this, mentioned in my last video, but it was pretty much that instead of having many Zelda games represented through it, it would only utilize the characters from Breath of the Wild, the one Zelda game that I feel had the weakest narrative out of all the 3D ones. By design, yes, but still. Plus, after watching some of the previews, I was not a fan of the music, the frame rate, and even just how the game looked through its animation. But then I got my hands on it, and yeah, this is a good video game. So let's begin with the aspect that I was most negative over before playing this game, the story. It is almost completely unnecessary in comparing this narrative to the Wii U game, as the writing was primarily just about...
called hentai. And its art.
Whereas here, I'm not joking around when I say that the story in Age of Calamity is pretty good. I'd even go so far to say that it's better than Breath of the Wild. And the reason for that is instead of having memories, from a mute character's perspective, we get to explore many of the individuals that we wanted more of in the new Zelda game. The champions, Zelda, and some spoilers that I will keep out of this review. The journey also takes place right before the Calamity strikes, meaning we get to see a healthy Hyrule, filled with tension, preparation, and more. And what this game also does is fixing some of the issues introduced in Breath of the Wild. They utilize the fact that Zelda is a scientist. They give the champions more depth, rather than just being footstools for Zelda's and Link's characters. And there are moments here to just build on these people that I can't show off, considering again that there are some major spoilers here. The narrative is also excellently well paced, never dragging on for too long or having any slow segments. Of course, you can do a lot of side missions to extend your time with the story, but for me, I got the true ending after roughly 37 hours, which was a good time, and me just, you know, taking my time. That being said, there were a few things that could have been better. For me, they do introduce a new original character to act as an antagonistic figure, and he feels a tad bit, one note. There is potential here after looking at some of his dialogue that you can get during combat, but overall, he feels pretty bland. Though to be fair, it's neither better or worse than Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild.
No! Not into the pit! It burns!
Another negative is that there are some convenient moments here. Not so much that the narrative feels like the writers didn't care, but enough to make me feel like they could have done it a bit differently. Again, can't go too deep into it with the spoilers. So that's the story. I genuinely love my time with it, and it even turned into a good Zelda story. Yeah, I'm not joking, it's really good, with a few flaws. That being said, it wasn't the main quest that had me play the original Hyrule Warriors for so many hours, hundreds of hours even. It was the gameplay. So, how is it here? Well, the first thing worth noting is that there's so much more depth here than the previous installment. Every character feels different with their gimmicks and their use of the universal Sheikah Slate, which functions like the items from the older game. For example, Link can chuck several bombs by using a reticle like full aiming style, whereas Mipha, our hero's sushi waifu, will make it rain. Hell, Zelda's primary moveset is using the slate in many different ways, so I think I actually prefer this over again the old style. Looking past the universal stuff though, every character has their standout gameplay mechanic. Sure, everyone has their light combos and heavy combos and a super attack after building a gauge, but individually, there is so much more. Again, Mipha can use waterfalls that she can teleport to, she can heal allies and herself, Urbosa can charge up a lightning bar and power up all of her combos with electricity, Revali has a completely different moveset in the air, Zelda with her mentioned Sheikah Slate, and so on. Every character of the 18 playable ones feels like they have something dope about them. One even have a small rhythm thing going on with their combos that you have to follow. And while I have no knowledge of programming or AI, what I do have knowledge of is how the enemy acted in Hyrule Warriors. Every time you had a 1 versus 1 match, be it a boss battle or not, it was extremely boring and time-consuming. But here... Oh my god, boss fight! And the music went ham. Yeah, actual boss fight.
Oh my god!
Music! Oh shit, I don't... Hit him! What the fuck? It's genuinely awesome having these battles. The bosses are fun! Even the monstrous bosses like the Hinox you face off against have just some fun to them, rather than just waiting for one move that you can punish. The missions also have so much variety to them, not having that much bullshit from the last game. Like, do not get hit, you only have that much time, the enemy keeps multiplying, etc. Yet in Age of Calamity, we have support missions, dominating other armies, boss battles, training with the other races, divide and conquer, and of course, the divine beasts. What the fuck? What? What? What the fuck? Jesus, Mifa! I did not expect to enjoy these missions at first, but the more I played, the higher the hype went. They do feel kind of like new gameplay gimmicks, like maybe to sell more copies, just to show off, but regardless of why they added these into the game, personally, I enjoyed the hell out of them, just for the feeling of power. And just like the warriors you can play as, the beasts feel all different to some capacity. My favorite being Vamedo. There also are a ton of weapons and items to collect, which will allow you to cook, giving you special buffs during missions, activating any of the map stores, prizes, like being able to dye Link's costumes, getting some new combos, upgrading your character with more health, etc., or going to the smithy to make your weapon even more powerful. And that's a system I really enjoy, because some weapons can give you certain boosts, like higher percentage in getting loot, or doing more damage at full health, or in the air, etc. So yeah, the gameplay itself and all of the mechanics are just improvements. I'd even say that the missions types as well are just, put higher up there. That being said, there are some small negatives. One being that while the game has a lot of customizations, whether it be Link's many costumes, every character have their own weapons and how they look, etc., they all are from Breath of the Wild. Like, honestly, I don't even think there's a single original costume or weapon in this game. Like, every asset from the open world adventure game is used, but nothing original. And while that helps the immersion of being a story prequel/sequel, overall, I would have preferred something new. I adored Link's scarf design. Why not have more cool stuff like that? Even the elemental type enemies are just the regular ones with a few color differences. And sure, the animations are cool and original, but please give us some cool stuff to look at. Maybe DLC, I don't know, but And while I do like that Link and Zelda get several movesets, like giving our heroes a two-handed weapon or a spear, giving something to the other warriors as well would be neat. But yeah, that's a bit nitpicky, I suppose. What is not nitpicky, however, and my biggest negative gameplay-wise, is the main menu. Holy F, what a mess! Where Hyrule Warriors had a very typical menu for upgrades, missions, the smithy, the potion maker, etc. Here, everything, absolutely everything is on this map. And once you have finished anything here, like learning a new recipe, it doesn't go away, just making everything look so messy. Sure, you can trigger a screen that's far easier to read, but look at this. And I understand the reason behind it, I think at least, to make it feel more like one journey and less video gamey. But I do not think that this was the best choice. Plus, if you go into the menu while doing a mission to keep your allies alive, you can't see how much health they have. Smaller things like this is all over the place. Let's make this as clear as possible. I love the gameplay itself, during the missions, upgrading my weapons, etc., but I wish there were more original things here to give our heroes, definitely the champions, and the UI/menu I am not a fan of. I just feel like it's important to get that across. What else is important to get across is the presentation of Age of Calamity, and I have a few things to talk about. First of all, through this game's art style, it looks really good. Whereas Hyrule Warriors tried to combine Twilight Princess to look a bit more like Skyward Sword, things here goes completely Breath of the Wild, with its cel shading. And it helps. The cutscenes feel like they were made by the same people who made the memories in Butuv, and the lighting in every location makes it actually feel like you're going through the entirety of Hyrule. And the stages, oh my god, the design is so much better than Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors combined. Gone are the hallways to square rooms, and in is the natural feeling locations. Sure, it feels like they just added the locales from Breath of the Wild and changed a few things here and there, but to an awesome effect. The animations are top-notch, feeling more grounded than the previous game while still having some over-the-top moves. On the audio side of things, the voice acting is actually a bit better than the last game we got these characters, which is a big plus, and thank you for the music. I was so worried for the music, as I believed that it would be like the previews throughout the entirety of the game, but I was wrong. Sure, we do get some less than spectacular tunes, like the Hyrule Field theme. But as the game gets better as you're playing, both in story and gameplay, the music goes ham as well. The presentation is really good in this game. True Nintendo quality. Only thing I can criticize it for, though, is the frame rate. The game itself is 30 frames per second, but it dips constantly, making me really want a performance mode, like in Fire Emblem Warriors. Plus, I've heard that if you play co-op, which this game has, it can even drop to single digits. Big oof there. Plus, the loading times aren't the best. Not the worst, but not the best. What is the best, though, is sending Rivali into a freaking wall! Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is a Warriors game that feels more like a Zelda game with a different gameplay style. It improved almost everything from the previous installments in this franchise, having an awesome story with just a few flaws rather than a very stupid one with some fun to it. The gameplay is improved in the sense that every character feels not only different from one another, but so much deeper than any of the older game's characters, while also having some just stupid fun with the Divine Beasts. The flaw here is mostly on the lack of originality and the menu screen. And finally, the game looks fantastic with its cel-shaded art style and great camera work. The music is phenomenal with some still weak voice work. And sadly, the performance could have been better. I went into this game believing that I would come out disappointed, but man was I wrong. Not only did it make me like the characters that I had just held some minor interest in before, but the gameplay had me sit on my couch for hours on end. I have a Hyrule Warriors where I can play as my favorite Zelda characters of all time, and I have another game where I can enjoy an amazing story with great gameplay. No clue on what they can add through DLC, but I'm willing to support games like these, cause wow, what an experience. But until then, I'm KingJGrim, or the dude that loves fishing, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next time!